Hello, and welcome back to another Mema's Misadventures in D&D. I am Mema, and this is my story of my campaign of Curse of Strahd and how my players are just going completely insane. When last we left our intrepid adventurers, they had just gotten to Castle Ravenloft after being invited to dinner for a nice, wonderful meal with the host, Strahd Van Servants. When we last left off, one of the characters was getting ready to throw an Eldritch Blast to Strahd's face, but fortunately for her, she decided against that between that session and this session. So they all started off being very polite and cordial. One of the characters had, even during the previous session, gone a little bit shopping and got Strahd a very nice ring, and the three brides very nice necklaces, which they all accepted graciously, and they all sat down to have dinner. They noticed that Strahd and his wives were drinking a very red liquid, and two of the characters, being damn fairs, are like, "Hey, is that what I think that is? Because if that is, I'd like to get some of that." Strahd was like, "Are you sure this is rather potent?" And they're like, "I don't care. I'm drinking some of that." So they both drank it, and I had them both roll Constitution saving throws for no particular reason. Roll Constitution saving throws for no particular reason, and they both failed. So they don't know this yet, but now they are currently addicted to that wine, which is, well, blood. And they're going to get very bad. Every time they take a long rest, they're going to have to do that save again. Otherwise, the addiction is going to get worse. The addiction isn't going to kill them because I'm not that evil of a sadistic person. But it is going to run this kind of similar to exhaustion, eventually getting worse and worse. However, unlike exhaustion, it will have a Constitution saving throw at the end of every long rest, and that saving throw will get lower and lower the longer they are without their substance, because if you go cold turkey long enough, you eventually just stop getting the cravings. But that's for another time. So yeah, they all started having a nice, polite conversation. One of the characters is a Revenant who was killed by Strahd Van Servants, which is one of the reasons why she's so worked up about this. She was the one who was thinking about throwing an Eldritch Blast at Strahd, but she stopped herself. She was very antagonistic at the start, and Strahd was asking her, "Why are you doing this? Why are you talking to me like this? I've been very respectful for this entire time." And she's like, "You killed me." And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Look. Just because I know I killed you, but that may have been the most traumatic experience of your life. But to me, it was just a Tuesday. So can we just live and let live?" She did not particularly care for that. And the dinner went on and on. One of the characters, the horny one, tried to... He had managed to get a human heart during the last scenario because they killed the child, but he kept the heart as like a souvenir. And he presented it to one of the brides to be like, "Hey, flirty. At first, he wanted to sneak it under the table, but it's like, dude, it's a giant table. It can't just reach around and give it to her. It's like, you'd have to crawl under the table, and then Strahd would have to be like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" So we said, yeah, you can just give it to her. They're vampire. He tried to be sneaky about it. It's like, dude, they are vampires. They are currently drinking blood. You throwing out a heart? You don't really have to make a stealth roll for that, because none of them care. So he did it, and he made him roll persuasion to see how well the bride reacted to it. She did not react all that badly to it. She was like, "Huh, quaint." And she takes a bite of it. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to get some now." And I'm like, "No, you're not." So then one of the reasons they were so eager to come is because one of the brides had let loose that one of their friends was actually going to be at the party, and they were a little curious about that. So they're like, "Hey, who's this friend you said we had? You said one of our friends was here." So eventually they're like, "Oh, of course, we'll bring him in as well." And it was Ismark the Lesser, because at the end of during the last scenario, Ismark split off from the rest of the party. He was going to head back to the town of Barovia to, rule it as he should, as the new, basically, Burgermaster. But he was abducted, and now, unbeknownst to them, because they don't ask questions for some reason, he's a werewolf. I told him that he was very pale and scrabby looking, and when he was offered some food during the dinner, he took some fairly raw meat and just started going to town on it. But they're like, he's fine. Even Valenta, the bride, I say, who basically has control of all the werewolves in Barovia, has referred to him as a pet, and they were just like, oh yeah, Ismark's a little bitch like that. He probably is a pet. I'm like, they're kind of implying that he's a werewolf or something, but they don't say anything, so it's like, okay, I guess that's going to be a surprise for later. Anyway, dinner goes on, and the lady who's the Revenant is getting more and more annoyed at Strahd being Strahd, and she eventually pulls a crossbow at him. He tries to do his vampire seduction to make her not. He fails because, of course, I have the worst dice rolls in the history of ever. And she points the crossbow at one of the brides. The bride's just like, it's a fucking crossbow. I don't care. Shoot me, bitch. But then at the last second, and then one of the characters, the other Damphir, who's kind of trying to get the story going in the right way. Not 100%, because he still likes chaos, but, at least there's an attempt being made. Does try to tackle her. Also, the other Damphir, the one who's just going balls to the walls crazy, is... I think he's also trying to attack her, not to, stop her, but just because, hey, this seems like a good time for PvP, let's go. But then at the last second, she pulls the crossbow away and is like, let this be a lesson, you won't walk over me again, or something stupid like that. And she storms off and leaves, taking the fourth player who, he was doing a little bit of roleplay, but nothing too relevant. And those two go to leave. And they're like, where are you all going? We're like, no, we're just leaving. We're going out. We're leaving. We're just heading out and doing whatever we can. And I'm like, look, I know I said y'all don't have to worry about your armor and weapons and shit while you're at the dinner, because right before dinner, Asher was like, hey, they can't go see Strahd looking like that. And he took him up, gave him a fresh set of clothes, and made them presentable for dinner. But if you just fuck off and leave without going back to get your gear, you're just gonna straight up lose your damn gear. I'm like, fine, we'll go back up. And they have a little conversation with Escher, which leaves the two Damphir alone with Strahd, which that's not gonna end well. So we're gonna start with the two semi-nice characters, the ones who are talking to Escher. They go up, they have a nice little conversation with Escher. They finally find out, they should have learned about this the first time Escher took them up, but again, I don't understand what these people focus on. Anyway, I digress. They learn out that Escher has only been here for about 100 years or so, and he used to be an adventurer like them, until he took an arrow to the knee. Ha ha ha. Anyway, he used to be an adventurer, and he's rather antagonistic to Strahd, but, there's nothing else he can do. Strahd's far too powerful to take down on his own, and they're like, hey, we're adventurers. We're on our way to beat down Strahd. Would you be willing to help us? And he's like, you know what? Maybe. And they're like, what can you tell us about Strahd in this castle? What happened? How does he, where does he go? When he goes to sleep? Because we heard from Van Richten that sometimes he goes to sleep for long periods of time. And he's like, oh, and I role-played it as if he gave them a fairly detailed view of Castle Ravenloft. So I basically showed them the map and like, you basically know all this. And now they're like, oh, right, we're going to go look for a back entrance into Castle Ravenloft so we can do a surprise attack. And I'm like, actually, like, Castle Ravenloft is set up like that iconic scene of the vampire castle, which on a cliff, and it's overlooking a giant cliff by itself, and there's a one bridge entrance. It's like, they don't really have a back entrance. It's in or nothing. It's like, oh, fuck. Oh, well, at least we kind of have a good layout of the thing, so we know that. And they thank Escher for his time, and they actually make an ally, which hopefully they don't try to kill in like 5 minutes. And then we go to the Damphir, who are sitting alone by Strahd. They make a little bit of small talk, and for some reason, one of them decides to be like, hey, Strahd, what are you after? And he lets loose that he is after Irina Kolyana, the lady they escorted to Vallaki to try to protect. And he's like, huh, that's interesting. Hey, you're a big, strong guy. How about if you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. We will get Irina for you if you take care of the hags, because they put a curse on us, and we're having a hard time killing shit. So if we give her to you, how about you take care of the hags for us? And Strahd was like, sure, I will gladly do that for you. And for whatever reason, neither of them did an insight check to see if he was lying. So, okay, and they were like, yes, perfect. We finally found a solution to the hag problem. And I'm just like, last session they were talking about making a deal with the hags to get rid of the curse. Now they're making a deal with the big bad evil guy of the entire campaign to get rid. They will make deals with anyone except the freaking quest givers in this goddamn game. I don't understand these people at all. Anyway, dinner ends. They leave. They go back to Vallaki. They all group together, tell everybody what they know. Well, the two kind of goody people tell them about Escher and their plan. The two Damphir don't exactly tell them that they are planning to work with Strahd because obvious reasons. But they know that Van Richten left with Irina during the Vallaki situation, right before shit went down, because Van Richten saw where shit was going. He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he left. And like, where are we gonna find Van Richten? Like, look, I know I'm looking, and they look at a map of the town of Barovia, and they're like, this is Van Richten's tower. But how would we know where Van Richten's tower is? And they go back and forth asking, like, innkeepers, asking around town about where Van Richten's tower would be, and none of the people know, because Van Richten kept that tower a secret, only to his closest allies. Except they forgot that Van Richten counted them as one of his closest allies, and told them, like, hey, if you need me and you don't know where I am, check this tower here, I might be there. That's basically my base of operations in all Barovia. So then they asked me, the DM, like outside of the game, hey, is there any way we would know, like, this tower is there? I'm like, why don't you roll history, just a base history check for me? And they're like, oh no. And they roll a base history, and they succeed. Van Richten told you, like, you could find him there. And they're like, oh, fuck, he did. We just wasted 20 minutes tracking down a tower we already knew where it was. And if that's not D&D, I don't know what is. So they prepare to go to Van Richten's tower, except they make a little detour to Organvols, because that would have been on the maps. They wouldn't have known it was there. It's a fairly big manor. And, like, if I'm being honest, like, Curse of Strahd is a fairly large campaign. It is fairly open world as well. They have a lot of free reign to go wherever they want. I kind of half expected them not to ever go to Oregon Vault at all, so I hadn't really prepared them, so I kind of make up a quick combat encounter. They won, and we ended it for the night right there. Well, not before one more thing. When they pulled up to Oregon Volsov, right up front, right before the manor, there's a giant statue of a dragon, which one of the characters realized was dedicated to the silver dragon, Oregon Volsov. Or, dedicated to the silver dragon, Oregon Vols. And the Revenant actually knows who that is because she's a Revenant and Oregon Volsov is basically overrun with Revenants who want to kill Strahd. I'm going to have it to, these people fought with each other 100 years ago, and they're going to know each other. And that's where that session ended. And, oh boy, do I have to prepare some shit for the next one. Until next time, take care, fuckers. Bye.